Prime hydration has been the talk of the town, but what I haven't seen anyone touch on is how dangerous this product could be if used heavily by what I would argue is Prime's target demographic. For the past year, Logan Paul has been pushing his and KSI's quote-unquote hydration drink Prime. And along the way, he's made multiple videos either outright claiming or heavily implying Prime is a better hydration product than its major competitors like Gatorade and Liquid IV. But guess what? From a scientific perspective, it just isn't. And in fact, pushing Prime on a certain demographic could have lethal consequences. Logan Paul is a master of misrepresenting facts to suit whatever narrative he's currently pushing. And that's exactly what he did with Prime when he started making these viral videos comparing Prime hydration to first Liquid IV and then Gatorade. In both videos, he's nice enough to lay out some facts for us.
These are all facts. Let's start with sugar. Gatorade has 36 grams of sugar in it as opposed to Prime's 2 grams. Liquid IV, 45 calories. Prime Stick, 25. Liquid IV with 11 grams of sugar compared to Prime's 2 grams.
Now in these videos, he's very careful to avoid explicitly saying that these facts make Prime a better hydration product than Gatorade or Liquid IV. And instead, he leads his audience to make that assumption with the way he presents the information. As Logan Paul, or more likely his marketing team, know that when the average person hears that a drink has lower sugar, more total electrolytes, and more random bullshit like BCAAs than another drink, that makes the first drink a superior product. But as you're going to find out, Logan Paul is being completely dishonest, and that is not the case. So let's go over each of Logan's quote-unquote facts about Prime and its competitors so you can learn the truth about Prime hydration and what makes it so potentially dangerous. I cringe a little bit every time I say hydration after I say Prime because it's such a bad hydration product.
Let's start with sugar. Gatorade has 36 grams of sugar in it as opposed to Prime's 2 grams. That is a lot of sugar compared to not a lot of sugar. Gatorade has 140 calories. Look at that. Prime only has 25.
Starting with Logan's video comparing Prime to Gatorade, you can see how he's presenting the fact that a bottle of Prime has less sugar and by extension fewer calories than a bottle of Gatorade as a good thing. But when in reality, it's not so black and white. Because if you want to honestly compare two products, you need to compare them through the lens of their intended use case. It wouldn't be fair for me to claim that my hammer is a better overall product than your notebook because it's better at hammering things. Because hammering clearly wasn't the intended use case the notebook was designed for. So what's the intended use case of Gatorade? Well, as is shown in pretty much every single Gatorade commercial, Gatorade is meant to be used during and after an intense workout. During intense workouts, your body will draw on and deplete the glucose that can be found in your bloodstream and stored in your skeletal muscles and liver in the form of glycogen to power your activity. And this glucose will need to be replaced if you want to continue performing at your best during the current workout or in any future workouts. And that's where Gatorade comes in with its high sugar content as a fast-acting source of glucose to replenish your stores of the carbohydrate that's crucial for performance. But do you really need all the sugar that's in Gatorade? Just how much glucose do you need to maintain optimal performance? Well, according to this 2011 meta-analysis by John Temsey and colleagues, the data from 50 different sports performance studies supports that the ingestion of between 30 and 80 grams of intra-workout carbohydrates an hour enhances endurance exercise performance in adults. And it just so happens that that bottle of Gatorade that Logan was comparing Prime to had 36 total grams of fast-acting carbohydrates, while Prime only has a measly 4 total grams. So you can see the fact that Prime has less glucose and by extension less calories per bottle than Gatorade actually makes Prime a very poor choice of drink for athletes looking to perform at their best. Now you might be saying, Prime doesn't market itself as a sports drink like Gatorade does. It's marketed as a hydration drink with more than twice the amount of total electrolytes per bottle as Gatorade. And you're definitely right, that's a fact that Logan is quick to point out, that Prime Hydration has a lot more total electrolytes than Gatorade. And that fact must make it better at keeping you hydrated, right? Well, actually no, and this is what makes drinking Prime so dangerous for athletes. And for me to explain why, let's see how Prime really stacks up to another product specially designed as a hydration drink, Liquid IV.
Liquid IV, 45 calories. Prime Stick, 25. Liquid IV with 11 grams of sugar compared to Prime's 2 grams. Liquid IV has 870 milligrams of electrolytes, and the Prime Stick has 871 milligrams of electrolytes. And that was intentional, so we could literally one-up them.
So it is a fact that Prime Hydration Sticks essentially contain the same amount of total electrolytes as Liquid IV, and more than twice as much when you compare a bottle of Prime to a bottle of Gatorade. But the trick here is that not all electrolytes are made equal when it comes to hydration. See, there are 6 main electrolytes that our body uses: sodium, calcium, potassium, chloride, phosphate, and magnesium. And in our body, they play a part in a bunch of different and hugely important roles, such as conducting nerve impulses, contracting muscles, keeping you hydrated, and regulating your body's pH levels. And it's important to note that while there is some overlap in the function of these electrolytes, these different electrolytes all play their own unique role in keeping your body functioning properly, so they cannot be treated as interchangeable parts. So if your body's levels of any of these electrolytes become imbalanced, meaning that they're too high or too low, you're going to be running into huge issues. But one of the most common and most serious hydration-related electrolyte imbalances is called hyponatremia. Hyponatremia is a condition where your body's levels of sodium get too low, and this condition can result from heavy sweating while drinking extreme amounts of plain water or other low-sodium drinks, which dilute the amount of sodium in your body. Hyponatremia can lead to confusion, lethargy, agitation, seizures, and in extreme cases, even death. Hyponatremia is often seen in athletes who participate in endurance sports, especially in hot climates, and fail to replace the sodium that's being lost through heavy sweating. And let me tell you, athletes lose a surprising amount of sodium through sweat during exercise. As an example, a runner who loses 3 liters of fluid in 1 hour will lose between 1.3 and 5.5 grams of sodium in that hour. This is why it's so important to have drinks with added sodium and not just plain water while exercising in the heat. You need to replace all that sodium you're losing, or you could quickly develop a serious case of hypernatremia. Now, isn't this just a great case for why you should be drinking Prime during exercise, like Logan is seen doing all the time? Because it's like Logan says, this has a ton of electrolytes, which will keep you hydrated, right? But the thing is, out of those 871 milligrams of electrolytes that Logan is bragging about, only about 40 milligrams of it is sodium, which is essentially nothing when you're an athlete that is losing 1.3 to 5.5 grams of sodium per hour during exercise. And besides that little bit of sodium in Prime, the rest of the 831 grams of electrolytes are made up of primarily potassium with a little bit of magnesium. This makes Prime the exact type of low sodium drink that can dilute the salt in athletes' blood and possibly lead to them becoming hyponatremic if Prime is all they're drinking during training or competition. And this is why a legitimate hydration product like the Liquid IV hydration sticks have 500 milligrams of sodium in each pack, because Liquid IV's formulation was intentionally designed to properly replace the electrolytes that people are actually losing while performing in the heat or during extreme exercise. Now, don't get me wrong, potassium and magnesium are very important electrolytes that many people are deficient in, but they're just lost in much smaller amounts during exercise, meaning that during exercise, they're not the electrolytes that you should be focused on replacing. So you can see why it's pretty dishonest for Logan Paul to say that just because Prime has more total electrolytes than his competition, that makes it a better hydration product. Because again, that's just not the case, and the nuance really matters here. Now, you could argue that Prime Hydration is a hydration drink just for normal non-athletes who aren't very active. But in that case, drink a bottle of plain water and have a banana. It's going to be infinitely better for you, and you'll save a lot of money. So if you just want a cheaply made potassium supplement that is sweetened with a low-quality artificial sweetener like sucralose, then maybe Prime is for you. But from my point of view, Prime Hydration is a terrible and potentially dangerous product for athletes and anyone who is heavily active, which I feel is the exact target demographic for any hydration drink. And even though Prime is very careful not to directly say their products are made for athletes and people who are highly active, with them sponsoring sports teams like the Arsenals, and with Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and KSI, who are all very well-known athletes, consistently publicly drinking Prime and showing it off during their boxing training camps, I think it's fair to say that they're clearly pushing Prime onto the world of athletics and onto people who are heavily active. There's a lot more I could say about why Prime Hydration is a terrible formulation overall, and why Logan Paul is wrong in his comparison videos, but instead I'm just going to keep the video short and end it here by saying do not buy Prime.